The Antwerp diamond heist, known as the Heist of the Century, took place in February 2003 in the supposedly completely secure vaults of the Antwerp World Diamond Center. This heist is one of the largest diamond thefts in history, with over $100 million American worth of diamonds, gold, and jewelry stolen. Despite some arrests, the majority of the diamonds were never recovered, adding to the heist's enduring mystery. The mastermind behind the heist was Leonardo Notarbartolo, who had been posing as an Italian diamond merchant. He spent 3 years living in Antwerp and going about his business as if he was an actual legitimate diamond merchant. During these years, he meticulously planned the heist, assembling a team of skilled criminals known as, quote, the School of Turin. And what I'm about to tell you next sounds like the plot of a heist movie, but it's all factual. The team included experts in various fields. The monster was an expert in lockpicking and mechanics, as well as the muscle behind the operation. The genius specialized in alarm systems and the manipulation of security systems generally. Speedy was known for his agility, though his nervousness would later contribute to their downfall. Finally, there was a mysterious man known only as the King of Keys, an unidentified master key forger who is said to have been able to replicate virtually any key. On the night of February 15th, or the very early morning of February 16th, 2003, the heist went into action. The team accessed the building through an adjacent office, used a polyester shield to evade infrared sensors, and covered cameras with black garbage bags. Inside the vault, they disabled alarms, picked locks in the dark, and filled duffel bags with diamonds and jewels from numerous safety deposit boxes. They then meticulously transported the loot to Notarbartolo's car. Despite the meticulous planning and execution, the heist unraveled due to a series of blunders. After the heist, Speedy and Notarbartolo attempted to dispose of evidence in a forest rather than burning it as planned. Speedy's panic attack led him to scatter the evidence, which was later discovered by a local hunter. The discarded evidence included receipts, videotapes, and a partially eaten salami sandwich, all of which provided crucial clues that led to the identification and arrest of the team members. Notarbartolo was sentenced to 10 years in prison but was released on parole in 2009. His associates received shorter sentences, but the fate of the King of Keys remains unknown, as he was never apprehended. The vast majority of the stolen goods were never recovered, and the investigation into their current location remains ongoing. Notarbartolo maintains that the heist was part of an insurance fraud scheme orchestrated by a diamond dealer, a claim that has never been substantiated. The King of Keys is suspected of being involved in a number of other heists, though the identity of this individual remains entirely unknown. Also, shout out to community member Danson1999 for this great suggestion. The Frauke Liebs case. Frauke Liebs, a 21-year-old nursing student, vanished under mysterious circumstances on June 20th, 2006 in Paderborn, Germany. Her case remains one of the most disturbing slayings in recent German history. On the night of her disappearance, she was at an Irish pub called the Auld Triangle in Paderborn, watching a FIFA World Cup match between England and Sweden with friends. She had borrowed a friend's phone battery as hers was running low, but returned it before leaving the pub around 11 p.m. Given that she only had about €5 with her, it's believed she intended to walk the short 2 miles to her apartment. At around 1 a.m., her housemate received a text message from her phone stating she would be home later. This message was sent from Neheim, a small city approximately 35 kilometers away from Paderborn. The following day, Frauke failed to appear at work, and her mother reported her missing immediately, given that this was entirely out of character for her. In the days following her disappearance, Frauke made several phone calls to her housemate and family. These calls were traced to various industrial areas in Paderborn. In these conversations, she repeatedly assured them she would return home soon, but provided no clear information about her whereabouts or situation. The last call occurred on June 27th, during which she spoke briefly with her sister. When asked if she was being held against her will, she initially answered, yes, faintly, but quickly followed with a loud no. On October 4, 2006, a hunter discovered her body in a forested area near Lichtenau, about 25 miles from where she was last seen. Her body was found still dressed in the clothes she had worn on the night she disappeared. However, her mobile phone, handbag, wallet, and wristwatch were missing. Due to the advanced state of decomposition, the cause and exact time of death could not be determined, though it was determined that this was not a recent event. The investigation into Frauke's disappearance and death involved extensive police work. Over 900 individuals connected to Frauke were questioned, and 5 initial suspects were identified. However, all were eventually cleared after providing convincing alibis. The police hypothesized that Frauke had been held captive in the Nieheim area, where the text on the night of her disappearance originated from. The authorities speculated that the phone calls made from different locations in Paderborn were intended to mislead the investigation. Despite the efforts, no definitive motive or perpetrator was identified. The case received significant media attention in Germany. Despite the exposure and a reward offered for information leading to the resolution of the case, Frauke's slaying remains unsolved. Even years later, the case continues to draw public interest and efforts to solve it persist. In November 2022, police conducted searches based on an anonymous tip, but found no new evidence. The case is still open, and authorities hope that new information might eventually come to light, bringing closure to Frauke's family and friends. Tower Hill Road. Tower Hill Road, located in North Kingstown, Rhode Island, is the center of several eerie urban legends. These legends encompass a mix of ghostly apparitions, mysterious creatures, and unexplained phenomena, each adding to the road's reputation as a hotspot for paranormal activity. Tower Hill Road's history dates back to colonial times, serving as a significant route for early settlers. Over the centuries, it has witnessed numerous incidents, many of which have become the foundation for its haunted reputation. An older legend speaks of a ghostly carriage that can be seen traversing the road on foggy nights. This spectral carriage, often pulled by invisible or ghostly horses, is said to carry the spirits of a spectral family. According to local lore, those who see the carriage are warned of impending misfortune. This tale has been passed down through generations, adding to the road's disturbing reputation. One of the most persistent legends involves the ghostly figures of children seen playing along the road. These apparitions are often described as wearing old-fashioned clothing, suggesting they might be the spirits of children from the colonial period. Witnesses report seeing these children suddenly vanish when approached, leaving no trace behind. This phenomenon has led to numerous stories and speculations about their origins and the tragic events that might have led to their demises. Another strange entity reported on Tower Hill Road is the so-called man monkey, a creature that allegedly jumps between dimensions. This being, first sighted in the 1970s, has been described by witnesses as a large, hairy creature with glowing eyes. Unlike the traditional Bigfoot, the man monkey is thought to possess supernatural abilities, such as disappearing and reappearing at will. These sightings have continued sporadically, with the most recent reports coming from the early 2000s. The various legends surrounding Tower Hill Road have sparked numerous theories and speculations. Some believe the road's haunted nature is due to its proximity to ancient Native American burial grounds, suggesting that the disturbances might be the result of unrested spirits. Others propose that the area's dense woods and historical sites naturally lend themselves to ghost stories and paranormal sightings. Skeptics further argue that many of the sightings can be attributed to optical illusions, or the power of suggestion, or even mass hysteria surrounding the road. Shout out to Bob Loblong Esquire for bringing this case to my attention. Robert the Doll. Robert the Doll is an interesting haunted doll that has attracted significant attention in recent years. Housed in the Fort East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida, this seemingly innocuous doll has a long history filled with eerie tales and unexplained phenomena. Robert the Doll was originally owned by Robert Eugene Otto, an eccentric artist from a prominent Key West family. The doll was created by the Steiff Company in Germany and given to Otto as a gift in 1904 by his grandfather during a trip to Germany. Otto quickly formed a deep attachment to the doll, even naming it after himself and referring to it in the first person as if it were alive. Also, for clarity's sake going forward, I will be referring to the doll as Robert, and the owner of the doll as Jean, his preferred name. The legends surrounding this sinister doll began early. According to local lore, a Bahamian servant girl, who was reportedly mistreated by the Otto family, cursed the doll with black magic. Soon after, strange events started to occur. Jean's parents would wake up to find their son screaming in the middle of the night, surrounded by overturned furniture, which Jean would blame on Robert. As Jean grew older, the doll's activities seemed to intensify. Visitors reported hearing giggles and seeing the doll's facial expressions change. The doll was also said to move on its own, from room to room, and even appear at windows. One notable story involves a plumber who was hired to do some work at the Otto family home. He claimed to hear children's laughter when no one else was present, and saw Robert move from one side of the room to the other. Objects that had been in the doll's lap were found on the other side of the room, seemingly thrown by an unseen force. After Jean's passing in 1974, the house, along with Robert, was sold to a woman named Myrtle Reuter. She kept Robert for 20 years, during which time she experienced similar strange occurrences, including Robert appearing and disappearing within the house. There are several theories about the nature of Robert the Doll. Some believe it is possessed by a malevolent spirit, possibly linked to the magical practices of the mistreated Bahamian servant. Under this theory, she imbued Robert with some sort of curse or malevolent energy, allowing the doll to move and act of its own accord. Others think it could be a poltergeist activity, where Jean's emotional energy as a child somehow gave the doll life. Another theory suggests that the stories are a result of the power of suggestion. When people hear about Robert's supposed abilities, they may experience psychosomatic symptoms or attribute everyday mishaps to the doll's curse. In 1994, Myrtle Reuter donated Robert to the Fort East Martello Museum. Since then, the doll has become a somewhat popular tourist attraction. The museum receives numerous letters from visitors asking for forgiveness after allegedly experiencing misfortunes attributed to disrespecting the doll. Museum staff and visitors often report strange phenomena, such as cameras malfunctioning, objects moving on their own, and eerie feelings around the doll. Some even claim to have seen Robert's chest moving as if he were breathing, though no video evidence exists to corroborate these claims. Robert the Doll's notoriety has spread beyond Key West. A series of low-budget British horror films loosely based on Robert's story began with the film Robert in 2015, followed by several sequels. Operation Beluga. In December 1984, local hunters discovered approximately 3,000 beluga whales trapped in a rapidly freezing strait near the Chukchi Peninsula, close to the Bering Sea. The whales were confined to small breathing holes, surrounded by thick ice that they could not break through. Initially, locals attempted to help by feeding the whales frozen fish and trying to keep the ice at bay. However, the ice continued to thicken, posing a severe threat to the whales' survival. The Soviet authorities responded by dispatching the icebreaker Moskva, a powerful vessel capable of breaking through thick ice. Moskva had been built in Finland and was one of the most formidable icebreakers of its time, featuring a robust diesel-electric power plant. Upon arriving, the crew of Moskva faced significant challenges. The ice was so thick that initial efforts to create a passage for the whales seemed futile. The captain, Anatoly Kovalenko, considered aborting the mission. However, seeing the dire situation of the whales, the crew decided to press on. They carved out large breathing holes to provide the whales with temporary relief and space to rest. A turning point in the operation came when someone recalled that marine mammals, including belugas, respond to music. The crew began playing various types of music through the ship's loudspeakers, experimenting with different genres. Classical music in particular seemed to attract the whales. The strategy involved playing music to lure the whales towards the open passages created by the icebreaker. Gradually, the whales started to follow Moskva, moving step by step towards open water. After weeks of persistent effort, Moskva's crew successfully led around 2,000 of the approximately 3,000 whales to safety. Several mysteries and theories surround the Operation Beluga. One question that remains is how the whales ended up in such large numbers in the strait. Some speculate they were chasing prey, such as cod, and got trapped by sudden ice formation. Another point of debate is the exact music played that attracted the whales. While some reports suggest Russian classical composers like Shostakovich and others, while others mention more modern Soviet pop tunes being used on the belugas. Personally, I prefer to believe that the beluga whales responded to the bland beats of Soviet pop. Not because they loved it, but because they wanted to figure out any way to get away from it. Also, perhaps I'm being overly harsh on Soviet pop, so let me know your favorite Soviet pop tunes in the comments. The rolling calf. The rolling calf is one of the most feared entities in Jamaican folklore. The rolling calf is said to be the spirit of a particularly wicked person, often a butcher or someone who was dishonest in their dealings. These spirits return to haunt the living, appearing as a large, terrifying calf-like creature that roams the countryside at night. A rolling calf is typically depicted as a monstrous calf with blazing red eyes, and it often drags heavy chains behind it, creating a distinct and eerie clanking sound. The creature is also known to emit a foul odor and is sometimes described as having smoke coming from its nostrils. Despite its terrifying nature, the rolling calf has several known weaknesses. It is said to be terrified of the moon, so one effective way to ward it off is by using a mirror to reflect moonlight towards it. Additionally, dropping random items behind you as you flee can distract the creature, as it will stop to count them. Another method involves using a whip to scare it away, as rolling calves are afraid of being whipped. It is said to reside in places like bamboo and cottonwood groves, caves, and abandoned houses, emerging on moonless nights to terrorize those who dare to venture out after dark. One particularly vivid story involves a man transporting molasses, only to have a rolling calf follow him, attracted by the sweet scent. The man managed to escape by whipping the creature, who fled while crying out in defeat. Various theories attempt to explain the phenomena associated with the rolling calf. Some suggest that it is a creature conjured up using dark magical powers to exact revenge on enemies. Others suggest that the creature is a form of cryptid or a misidentified animal. Still others suggest that it may be another form of paranormal phenomenon, such as an interdimensional entity or an extraterrestrial creature. The death of David Bacon. David Bacon, born Gaspar Griswold Bacon Jr. on March 24, 1914, was an American actor known for his brief career in Hollywood. Bacon hailed from a prominent family in Massachusetts. His grandfather, Robert Bacon, was a financier and U.S. ambassador, while his father, Gaspar Bacon Sr., was Massachusetts' lieutenant governor. Despite his wealthy and politically connected background, Bacon chose to pursue a career in Hollywood rather than follow his family's footsteps into politics. Notably at the time, this was considered extremely improper for someone of David Bacon's social background and societal status. Bacon's journey into acting began in the early 1930s, performing in summer stock theaters on Cape Cod, where he befriended future stars like James Stewart and Henry Fonda. In 1942, Bacon married Austrian singer and actress Greta Keller. Bacon's career received a significant boost when he was discovered by Howard Hughes, who signed him to an exclusive contract. Though Bacon initially screen tested for a starring role in what was slated to be a major film called The Outlaw, Hughes ultimately cast him in smaller roles. His most notable role was in the Republic Pictures serial The Masked Marvel, where he played a member of a team fighting Japanese spies during World War II. On September 12, 1943, Bacon's life came to a tragic and mysterious end. Witnesses reported seeing him driving erratically before his car crashed in Venice, California. Bacon stumbled out of the vehicle, suffering from a small wound on his back, and collapsed. His last words to bystanders were a plea for help before he passed away. The subsequent investigation revealed few meaningful clues. Bacon's car contained a camera with undeveloped film showing only one photo of him, fully unclothed, on a beach, a wallet, and a sweater not belonging to him. Bacon's wife, Greta Keller, was devastated by his passing and later suffered a miscarriage. She suggested that Howard Hughes, the billionaire aviator and Hollywood producer who discovered Bacon, might have been involved due to a rumored romantic relationship between them. This theory posits that the relationship might have soured, leading to a fatal confrontation. However, these claims remained entirely speculative, and Hughes was known for his numerous affairs, all of which were with women, casting doubt on this theory's credibility. Another theory suggests that Bacon was a victim of a blackmail attempt gone sideways. Given the atmosphere of 1940s Hollywood, Bacon's orientation could have made him a target for blackmailers. This theory is supported by the fact that Bacon was living a double life, married to Keller while allegedly involved in same-sex relationships. The scenario of a blackmail scheme escalating into violence seems plausible in this context. Another theory is that Bacon might have picked up a hitchhiker who turned violent. Witnesses had seen Bacon with a man shortly before his demise. This unidentified individual could have attacked Bacon in the car, leading to his fatal injury. The fact that no substantial evidence was found to confirm this theory leaves it as one of many possibilities. The navy blue sweater found in Bacon's car, along with the camera containing a single photo of him, has fueled speculation. The sweater, which did not belong to Bacon, suggests the presence of another person. The photo implies a private moment, potentially with someone Bacon trusted, adding an intimate and possibly incriminating dimension to the events leading up to his demise. Despite numerous theories, no one was ever charged, and the case remains a mystery till this day. Shout out to Discord community member D. Dodge Silver for this great suggestion. The death of Jenny Lo Chang. Jenny Lo Chang, a 19-year-old student at San Francisco State University, disappeared on the evening of September 11, 1977. She left her dormitory around 6 p.m., heading to a study session in the J. Paul Leonard Library. When her roommate noticed her absence the following morning, She reported it to the authorities. Jenny's body was discovered a few hours later in a locked reading room on the library's 4th floor. The condition of the room and her body indicated a violent struggle had taken place. Over 200 staff members and 1,200 faculty members had access to keys and coded cards that could unlock the room where she was found, complicating the investigation. The only individuals questioned were a campus security guard and a faculty member, strongly suggesting that the initial investigation was not carried out properly. One popular theory suggests the involvement of the notorious Zodiac Killer, given the geographical and chronological proximity of his activities. However, no substantial evidence that is publicly known supports this theory. Another theory posits the involvement of Rodney Alcala, a convicted serial wrongdoer active around the same period. This theory also lacks concrete evidence, but has gained traction due to the similarities in the modus operandi. The investigation into Jenny's demise was fraught with challenges. Advanced decomposition of her body hampered forensic analysis, making it difficult to establish a precise cause of her passing. The scene itself, described as chaotic with broken furniture and scattered personal items, suggested a violent confrontation. The locked state of the room upon discovery led investigators to conclude that Jenny must have entered with someone she trusted, who had access to a key to the room. Despite numerous efforts, the case has long gone cold, with few meaningful leads ever generated. The Erdington slayings. In the quiet suburb of Erdington, Birmingham, 2 chillingly similar events occurred, separated by 157 years. The first incident dates back to May 27, 1817, when Mary Ashford, a 20-year-old woman, was found lifeless in a flooded sandpit. Mary had spent the previous evening dancing at the Tyburn House Inn with friends, including a young man named Abraham Thornton. After the dance, she parted ways with her friend and was last seen alive in the early hours of the morning. Later, Abraham Thornton admitted to having been with Mary, but insisted their interactions were consensual. Despite public outrage, Thornton was acquitted due to insufficient evidence and inconsistencies in the testimonies of witnesses. Fast forward to May 27, 1974, when the body of Barbara Forrest, another 20-year-old woman, was discovered in Pipe Hayes Park, the same area where Mary Ashford had met her fate. Barbara had also spent her last evening at a social event and was last seen alive in the early hours of the morning. Michael Ian Thornton, a co-worker at the children's home where Barbara worked, became the prime suspect. Similar to the earlier case, circumstantial evidence led to his arrest, but without concrete proof, he was acquitted. The parallel elements of these cases are uncanny. Both victims were 20 years old and spent their last nights dancing. They were found on the same date, in the same location, and in both cases, a man named Thornton was the prime suspect who was ultimately acquitted. In Mary Ashford's case, the legal proceedings included an unusual twist. After Thornton's initial acquittal, Mary's brother demanded a retrial, invoking an archaic law allowing for trial by combat. Thornton accepted the challenge, symbolically throwing down a gauntlet in court. However, Mary's brother declined the combat, leading to Thornton's final acquittal. The public, dissatisfied with the outcome, ostracized Thornton, who eventually emigrated to the United States. Barbara Forrest's case, although lacking the medieval throwback drama of trial by combat, was equally frustrating for authorities and the public. Forensic technology of the time was not advanced enough to provide definitive answers. Despite the presence of circumstantial evidence against Michael Ian Thornton, the jury found him not guilty. This left many questions unanswered and allowed Thornton to walk free, much to the dismay of Barbara's family and friends. The uncanny similarities between these two cases have spurred numerous theories. Some suggest the involvement of a copycat influenced by the historical case of Mary Ashford. Others believe in more far-fetched ideas, such as a supernatural recurrence or a curse on the Thornton family name. Despite various investigations and public interest, the true connection between the two incidents, if any, remains a mystery. Pica. Pica is a disorder characterized by the compulsive consumption of non-food substances. The term pica comes from the Latin word for magpie, a bird known for its indiscriminate eating habits. Historical records of pica date back centuries, with references in medical texts as early as the 16th century. Ancient medical literature described cases of individuals consuming soil, chalk, and other non-food items, often linking these behaviors to various health conditions like anemia. Pica can be associated with numerous underlying conditions. Further, nutrient deficiencies, particularly in iron and zinc, have also been strongly linked to pica. For instance, individuals with iron deficiency anemia often develop a craving for ice, a condition known as pagophagia. Psychological factors are also speculated to play a significant role in pica. Anxiety, obsessive-compulsive disorder, or OCD, and other mental health conditions have been observed in many cases. In some instances, individuals consume non-food items to relieve stress or cope with emotional disturbances. Case studies have documented people eating items like mud, pencil nibs, and wall plaster to alleviate anxiety. There are numerous documented cases that highlight the variety and severity of pica. One such case involves Teresa Widener, who developed a habit of eating rocks during pregnancy. Her condition persisted for over 2 decades, illustrating the chronic nature of pica in some individuals. Another case is that of an 11-year-old boy named Cameron Litchfield, who was found to have ingested magnets, screws, and yarn. His condition required immediate medical intervention, showcasing the potential dangers associated with pica. Despite advances in understanding pica, many aspects remain mysterious. The exact neurobiological pathways involved are still actively under investigation, with some breakthroughs having been made. Researchers are exploring the roles of various neurotransmitters and brain regions in the development of pica. Additionally, the condition's prevalence across different cultures and populations continues to be a subject of study. Pica's association with other mental health disorders also raises questions about shared underlying mechanisms. However, some researchers speculate that pica may develop independently out of a variety of conditions. For example, while some might develop pica due to psychological factors, other individuals may have a neurological condition which leads to this uncontrolled desire. The disappearance of Beth Miller. On August 16, 1983, 14-year-old Beth Miller went for a jog in her hometown of Idaho Springs, Colorado, and never returned. Beth was an active teenager, having recently been accepted into a varsity basketball program. She was dedicated to staying in shape and frequently jogged in the area. On the fateful day, she went jogging alone, which was unusual for her. When she did not return home, her family quickly became concerned. The subsequent search efforts were extensive, involving local law enforcement, volunteers, search dogs, and even horses, but no trace of Beth was found. Her sister, Lynn McLaughlin, driven by the desire to uncover the truth, later became a police officer and took an active role in investigating Beth's case. Despite her dedication and efforts, she encountered numerous obstacles, including lost or destroyed documents and jurisdictional disputes that hindered the investigation. Over the years, various theories have emerged regarding Beth's disappearance. One theory suggested that her case might be connected to other cases in the area, specifically those involving Alan Lee Phillips. Phillips was convicted in 2022 for crimes committed around the same time as Beth's disappearance. His modus operandi and the proximity of his other crimes led some to speculate that he might be involved. However, there has been no conclusive evidence linking Phillips to Beth's case. The investigation into Beth Miller's disappearance has seen several phases, each bringing a glimmer of hope followed by disappointment. In 2007, a grand jury reviewed the case and highlighted significant failures in the initial investigation. This included mishandling of evidence and interagency conflicts, which likely contributed to the case remaining unsolved. Despite the passage of time, Beth's family has never given up hope. They continue to seek closure and urge anyone with information to come forward. Lynn McLaughlin, now retired, remains hopeful that new evidence or a fresh lead might eventually solve the mystery of what happened to her sister. The secret cow level in Diablo 1. The rumor of a secret cow level in the original Diablo game is one of the most well-known urban legends in video game history, originating from the game's release in 1996. Despite the absence of any such level in the original game, fans speculated that repeatedly clicking on the cows in Tristram would open a portal to a hidden cow level. Other methods for unlocking the secret cow level circulated around high schools, colleges, gaming magazines, and internet forums. These methods for unlocking the level often involved convoluted steps, which would have required an immense amount of time and effort to test. Blizzard Entertainment, the developer, decided to acknowledge and feed into this rumor in a subtle way. The first official nod to the cow level came in Diablo Hellfire, an expansion released in 1997. This expansion pack, as this sort of content was then known, included a hidden quest called Jersey's Jersey, featuring a character in a cow suit, directly referencing the urban legend. However, there was still no cow level implemented into Diablo Hellfire. The cow level rumor was further cemented in Blizzard's lore with the release of StarCraft in 1998, where the cheat code, "There is no cow level," allowed players to skip a mission. This code sparked further speculation that the cow level may exist within Diablo 1. The myth became a reality with Diablo 2 in 2000. Players discovered that combining Wirt's leg, an item found in the game, with a Tome of Town portal in the Herodric Cube would open a portal to the secret cow level. This level, formerly known as Moo Moo Farm, featured bipedal, weapon-wielding cows led by the Cow King. The inclusion of this level delighted fans and showcased Blizzard's willingness to embrace and materialize community-driven myths. Following this, references to the cow level appeared in many Blizzard games. Diablo 3 introduced Whimsyshire, a level featuring mythical creatures like unicorns and inspired by the absurdity of the cow level myth. Additionally, a proper cow level named Not the Cow Level was added later. World of Warcraft, Hearthstone, and other games also made various references to the cow level, showcasing its broad influence and popularity within the gaming community. Despite its popularity, the cow level has been controversial. Some players and Blizzard developers criticized it for being too rewarding, potentially overshadowing other parts of the game. This debate highlights the balance needed between fun Easter eggs and the core gameplay experience. Cat riding reflex. The cat riding reflex, a cat's innate ability to orient itself midair to land on its feet, has fascinated humans for centuries. This reflex is an impressive display of feline agility and anatomical precision, perfected over millions of years of evolution. Research into the cat riding reflex dates back to the early 18th century. French scientist Antoine Perron first explored this phenomenon in 1700, comparing it to the physics of buoyancy and equilibrium. However, the most notable early study was conducted by French physiologist Étienne Jules Marais in 1894. Marais used high-speed photography to capture a falling cat's mid-air adjustments, presenting his findings to the French Academy of Sciences. This photographic evidence revealed the complexity of the reflex and challenged existing mechanical principles of the time. Cats achieve their mid-air reorientation through a combination of anatomical and neurological adaptations. The reflex involves a sequence of movements that allow a cat to twist its body to land on its feet. The process begins with the cat's vestibular system, located in the inner ear, which helps determine its orientation relative to the ground. This system, combined with the flexibility of the cat's spine and the absence of a functional collarbone, enables rapid and precise body adjustments. Initially, the cat positions its head to align with the ground. Following this, it twists its spine to align the front half of its body, while the rear half follows. This coordinated movement ensures that the cat's paws are oriented downwards by the time it lands. Modern research has delved deeper into the physics and biology of this reflex. Studies have shown that the righting reflex is not entirely innate. Kittens develop and refine this ability as they grow. For instance, experiments in near-zero gravity conditions revealed that adult cats could right themselves, but newborn kittens could not. This suggests the necessity of both development and environmental interaction for this reflex to mature. And in case you're wondering how this was figured out, this is based upon a study published in 1957. For this study, the U.S. Air Force put both adult cats and kittens in a simulated near-zero gravity environment on a high-altitude plane to study this effect. But I digress. Further studies also indicate that the height from which a cat falls affects the effectiveness of the righting reflex. Cats falling from greater heights paradoxically tend to suffer fewer injuries than those falling from lower heights. However, this is due to their ability to reach terminal velocity and better position themselves to absorb the impact when falling from higher heights. Despite extensive research, some aspects of the cat righting reflex remain mysterious. One intriguing question is how cats maintain such precise control over their movements in complete darkness. Some theories suggest that the cat's brain can store information about its orientation before the fall, allowing it to make necessary adjustments even without visual input. However, this is somewhat questionable as this has been observed even in blind cats. Another area of interest is the reflex's evolutionary origins. While the exact evolutionary path is unclear, it is likely that this ability evolved to aid survival in tree-rich environments, where falling from trees was a common risk. This theory is supported by the fact that other animals, such as squirrels, exhibit similar righting reflexes, presumably for similar survival advantages. There are numerous accounts of cats surviving seemingly impossible falls, adding to the lore of their righting reflex. For instance, a cat named Sabrina fell 32 stories from a high-rise apartment in New York City and survived with only minor injuries, highlighting the incredible effectiveness of this reflex. Mirror, mirror on the wall. This is an example of a Mandela effect where many people remember this famous line incorrectly. Originating from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the line in question is often remembered as, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" However, the actual line from the 1937 film is, "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" This discrepancy has puzzled many and led to widespread discussions about memory and reality. The concept of the Mandela effect is a collective, presumably false memory, where large groups of people remember events or details differently from how they occurred. In the case of the mirror, mirror quote, the confusion arises from multiple sources. The famous line, "Mirror, mirror," actually comes from the original Brothers Grimm fairy tale, Snow White, where the phrase was Spieglein, Spieglein an der Wand in German. this translates to mirror, mirror on the wall, or less poetically, but more literally, little mirror on the wall in English. When Disney adapted the story, they changed the line to magic mirror on the wall. This change, however, did not stop many people from remembering it as mirror, mirror, possibly due to the influence of the original tale and its repeated references in popular culture. Notably, this ran against the convention of translation of the story at that time, and many people were already familiar with the mirror, mirror version from the fairy tale. The Mandela effect suggests that such collective misrememberings could be due to a variety of factors. Psychological explanations include the idea that memory is reconstructive rather than reproductive. This means that when people recall memories, they reconstruct them from various pieces of information, which can sometimes lead to inaccuracies. Over time, hearing others repeat the incorrect version can solidify these false memories in one's mind. In my view, while this Mandela effect appears to be as shocking as the fruit of the loom Mandela effect at first glance, but on investigation, it's quite clearly not. I hypothesize that children and adults seeing Snow White were quite likely to be familiar with the Brothers Grimm fairy tale, which had always been translated as mirror, mirror. Therefore, the false memory that this line was repeated in the movie adaptation was primed to easily take root. The blue tigers of China. The blue tiger, also known as the Maltese tiger, has captivated imaginations and sparked debates for over a century. This creature is rumored to have a bluish-gray coat, a stark contrast to the more familiar orange and black stripes of most tigers. Despite numerous reports and legends, there is no concrete evidence to confirm the existence of blue tigers. Notably, the quote, Maltese tiger has no connection whatsoever to the island of Malta. The term Maltese tiger is believed to have been borrowed from Maltese cat, referring to domestic cats with blue-gray fur often found in Malta. This name suggests a genetic mutation similar to that seen in other cats with blue or gray coats, such as the Russian blue cat. Theories suggest that the blue hue could result from a specific gene mutation, creating a palette switch within the tiger population. The most famous account of a blue tiger sighting comes from Harry R. Caldwell, an American missionary and experienced tiger hunter. Quick aside, I feel like being both a missionary and tiger hunter is a very late 19th or early 20th century thing to do. Caldwell reported seeing a blue-tinged tiger in China's Fujian province in 1910. Caldwell's description of the tiger, detailed in his 1924 book Blue Tiger, describes an animal with a distinctive bluish coat, which he initially mistook for a man in blue clothing. Other sightings have been reported in neighboring regions, including Burma and Korea, but these too lack photographic evidence or physical proof. In the 1960s, there were rumors of a blue tiger in Oklahoma being kept in a private collection, though this claim was never substantiated. The South China tiger, a subspecies often linked to these reports, is critically endangered, with very few individuals remaining in the wild. I note that this is one cryptid that I am quite confident actually exists, or did exist at some point in the past. The existence of melanistic tigers is supported by scientific evidence and genetic research, as well as modern photographic evidence. These well-documented tigers, known for their unique black and yellow striped patterns, primarily inhabit the Similipal Tiger Reserve in Odisha, India. The melanism in these tigers is attributed to a rare genetic mutation, which causes extremely dark pigmentation. I suspect that the Chinese blue tiger is a South China tiger, which exhibits this same genetic mutation, or a similar mutation. I note that oftentimes dark black and blue are difficult colors to distinguish in direct sunlight, which could explain why this tiger cryptid is known as a blue tiger rather than a black tiger. The Borley Rectory. Borley Rectory, a Gothic-style mansion built in 1862 in Borley, Essex, was famously known as the most haunted house in England while it stood. The rectory was constructed for Reverend Henry Dawson Bull and his family, and almost immediately, strange occurrences began to be reported. The first significant haunting reports came from the Bull family themselves. Numerous accounts from this period include sightings of a spectral nun, believed to be related to a tragic legend of a nun and monk from a nearby Benedictine monastery. The two were said to have been punished for engaging in a forbidden love affair. The nun was purportedly bricked up alive within the convent walls, and her ghost reportedly wandered the grounds of Borley Rectory. In 1928, Reverend Guy Smith and his wife moved into the rectory, also experiencing a series of inexplicable events. They reported hearing footsteps, strange whispers, and seeing apparitions. Mrs. Smith even reported the discovery of what she believed to be a human skull in a cupboard, wrapped up in a package. This skull was later determined to be that of a young woman who perished under unknown circumstances. Disturbed by these occurrences, the Smiths contacted the Daily Mirror, leading to the involvement of renowned paranormal investigator Harry Price. Harry Price also investigated the infamous Jeff the Magic Mongoose case, previously discussed in this series. Price rented the rectory in 1937 and conducted a series of experiments with a team of observers. During seances, they claimed to contact spirits, including a nun named Marie Lair, who allegedly recounted her tragic story and sought help through written messages. Harry Price's investigations at Borley Rectory greatly enhanced its notoriety. He documented various paranormal activities, including objects being thrown, mysterious writings on the walls, and ghostly figures. In 1939, a fire severely damaged Borley Rectory. The fire started when Captain W. H. Gregson, the new owner, accidentally knocked over an oil lamp. The insurance investigation suggested the fire was deliberately set, though some believe that the spirits inhabiting the rectory played a role in this fire. Despite the destruction, the legend of Borley Rectory continued, with numerous claims of ghostly sightings at the site of the ruins. While the Rectory itself no longer stands, demolished in 1944, the stories of Borley Rectory's hauntings remain a significant part of England's paranormal lore. The Sphinx's missing nose. The Great Sphinx of Giza is one of the most iconic monuments of ancient Egypt, with the body of a lion and the head of a human, dressed as a pharaoh. However, one of the most intriguing aspects of the Sphinx is its missing nose. The Great Sphinx, believed to have been constructed around 2500 BC during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre, originally had a nose. This is evident from various historical records and archaeological evidence. The Sphinx itself is an imposing figure, measuring about 240 feet long and 66 feet high, carved from a single block of limestone on the Giza Plateau. One of the most popular myths is that the Sphinx's nose was shot off by cannonballs fired by Napoleon Bonaparte's soldiers during the French campaign in Egypt in 1798. This gained traction due to the widespread belief that the soldiers used the Sphinx for target practice. However, historical records quite easily disprove this claim. Sketches of the Sphinx made by Danish explorer Frederick Louis Norden in 1737, decades before Napoleon's arrival, already show the Sphinx without its nose. According to the 15th century Egyptian historian al-Makrizi, the Sphinx's nose was destroyed by a Sufi Muslim named Muhammad al-Dar in 1378 AD. Outraged by local peasants making offerings to the Sphinx in hopes of controlling the flood cycle, al-Dar defaced the statue. This story, though widely cited, is still debated among historians. Another plausible explanation is natural erosion. the Sphinx has endured thousands of years of exposure to the elements, which could have contributed to the gradual wearing away of its nose. However, the precision of the break and the presence of tool marks suggests a more deliberate act. Detailed examinations of the Sphinx's face indicate that rods or chisels were hammered into the nose area and then used to pry it off. Despite extensive searches, the missing pieces of the nose have never been found. Portlock, Alaska. Portlock, Alaska, located on the southern end of the Kenai Peninsula, is a ghost town. Established as an outpost by Captain Nathaniel Portlock of the Royal British Navy in 1786, the town became known for its vibrant cannery industry in the early 20th century. The town's eerie history is marked by numerous strange events and disappearances that led to its eventual abandonment. The first significant incident occurred in 1905 when Aleut workers abruptly left their cannery jobs due to an unexplained presence in the woods. Despite returning the following year, the atmosphere of fear and unease persisted. Throughout the 1920s and 1930s, the town experienced a series of mysterious disappearances and sightings of a creature known as the Nantinak, a Bigfoot-like being. One of the most notable events was the mysterious demise of a logger named Andrew Kamluck in 1931. Kamluck was reportedly struck by a large piece of logging equipment, found far from where it had been used. Hunters and prospectors frequently reported encountering enormous, human-like footprints and hearing eerie howls at night. The locals attributed these incidents to the Nantinak, believed to be a part human, part beast entity that roamed the area. Stories of hunters disappearing without a trace and bodies found with unusual wounds only added to the town's ominous reputation. According to the legend, by the 1940s, the town's residents were permanently gripped by fear. A significant number of them left Portlock after multiple instances of bodies being found in the nearby lagoon. This exodus included the family of Melania Kale, who recounted how the terrorized villagers fled to nearby settlements such as Nanwalek. The official reasons for Portlock's abandonment include its remote location and the lack of infrastructure, particularly the new highway routes that bypass the town. However, local lore strongly emphasizes the terror caused by the Nantinak as the primary reason for the mass departure. Today, Portlock remains a ghost town, accessible only by a challenging journey through rugged terrain. The remnants of its past, such as house foundations and rusted cannery equipment, stand as silent witnesses to the town's disturbing past. Also, shout out to frequent contributor Boomslang for this suggestion. Przybylski's Star. Przybylski's Star is a celestial mystery that has captivated astronomers since its discovery by Polish-Australian astronomer Antoni Przybylski in 1961. The star was discovered during a survey of peculiar A-type stars. Located roughly 370 light-years away in the constellation Centaurus, this star stands out due to its unique properties, which continue to puzzle scientists to this day. Its atmosphere is rich in elements like strontium, holmium, niobium, scandium, yttrium, and cesium, found in concentrations 1,000 to 10,000 times higher than those in our Sun. Conversely, it has significantly lower levels of iron and nickel, which are typically abundant in stars. More puzzling is the presence of short-lived radioactive elements such as actinides, including thorium, uranium, and plutonium, which should have decayed long ago if they were primordial. Adding to its mystique, Przybylski's star rotates extremely slowly, completing one rotation approximately every 188 years. This slow rotation is typical of a subset of stars known as app stars, which are characterized by strong magnetic fields and peculiar chemical compositions. However, the precise mechanisms causing these characteristics in Przybylski's star remain unclear. The unusual chemical makeup of this star has led to several intriguing hypotheses. One theory suggests that a nearby neutron star might be bombarding Przybylski's star with neutrons, creating the observed heavy elements. However, no such companion has been detected, making this hypothesis unlikely. Another possibility is that the observed elements are decay products of superheavy elements from an island of stability in the periodic table. These elements could have longer half-lives than previously known, allowing their daughter isotopes to be detectable. A more speculative theory posits that the star's peculiarities might be due to advanced extraterrestrial civilizations manipulating the star. Some scientists have suggested that aliens could be using Przybylski's star to dispose of nuclear waste, salting its atmosphere with unusual elements as a form of waste management. Little Nikki, the first commercially cloned cat. Born on October 17, 2004, Little Nikki is famously known as the first commercially cloned cat. His cloning was orchestrated by Genetic Savings and Clone, a biotechnology company based in California, which utilized the DNA of a 17-year-old cat named Nikki. Nikki, who passed away in 2003, had a devoted owner named Julie from North Texas, who paid $50,000 for the cloning procedure. Julie's decision to clone Nikki stemmed from her deep attachment to her cat and the desire to preserve his memory through an identical genetic replica. The method was developed and perfected through a collaboration between Genetic Savings and Clone and Texas A&M University. This university had previously achieved the first successful cat cloning in 2001 with a cat named CC, which was short for copycat rather than carbon copy. Julie reported that Little Nikki shared many physical and behavioral characteristics with the original Nikki, reinforcing her belief in the success of the cloning process. However, Little Nikki experienced various health issues throughout his life, which were not conclusively linked to the cloning procedure. Despite these challenges, Julie remained satisfied with the outcome, appreciating the continuity that Little Nikki provided. The creation of Little Nikki sparked significant ethical debates at the time. Critics, including organizations like the Humane Society, argued that the resources spent on cloning could be better utilized for the care of existing animals in shelters. These groups emphasized the importance of addressing the overpopulation of pets and supporting animal welfare initiatives instead of investing in cloning technologies. Genetic Savings and Clone offered pet cloning services through a program called the 9 Lives, which aimed to cater to pet owners willing to invest in cloning their beloved animals. Also, if I can just take a moment to insert a quick aside, it really seems like this entire company was fueled by clever wordplay, as much as a desire to clone animals. Despite the initial enthusiasm and media attention, the company closed in 2006 due to financial difficulties and the controversial nature of its services. Further, whether Nikki and Little Nikki are effectively the same cat or more akin to twins remains a controversial and open question. The hallucinatory voices that saved a woman's life. In the winter of 1984, a woman identified as AB experienced an unusual event when she began hearing voices that ultimately led to a life-saving medical diagnosis. AB, a healthy and ordinary resident of the UK, began hearing a distinct voice inside her head while reading at home. The voice, which claimed to be from former workers at the Children's Hospital, Great Ormond Street, told her she had a serious medical condition that required immediate attention. Despite having no symptoms, AB followed the voice's advice and requested a brain scan at a London hospital. The medical staff, though initially skeptical, agreed to perform the scan, which revealed a brain tumor and an inflamed brainstem. This early diagnosis allowed for timely surgery, saving her life. Remarkably, the voices ceased after the operation, and AB never heard them again. The case of AB raises fascinating questions about the nature of these hallucinatory voices and their origins. One prevalent theory is that the tumor itself may have caused the auditory hallucinations. This theory is supported by instances where brain abnormalities have led to similar experiences, suggesting that the brain can sometimes alert individuals to its own ailments. Dr. Ikechukwu Azuonye, a consultant psychiatrist, documented this case in the British Medical Journal. He explored the possibility that the tumor was influencing AB's perceptions, leading to the vivid and specific auditory hallucinations that prompted her to seek medical help. This case is particularly notable because the voices provided detailed and accurate information that AB could verify, lending credibility to the otherwise implausible scenario. Beyond the medical explanations, the story has also been discussed in the context of spiritual and supernatural phenomena. Some have speculated that AB might have experienced a form of divine intervention or guardian angels. However, according to skeptics, these interpretations remain speculative and lack scientific validation. The primary focus in the medical community remains on understanding the neurological and psychological mechanisms that could produce such precise and beneficial hallucinations. The phenomenon of hearing voices is not uncommon and can be associated with various psychological and neurological conditions. However, the specificity and accuracy of the voices in AB's case make it unique. Prosopagnosia. Prosopagnosia, commonly known as face blindness, is a neurological condition characterized by the inability to recognize faces. The term prosopagnosia was first coined by German neurologist Joachim Bodmer in 1947, although descriptions of the condition date back to the 19th century. Early reports by ophthalmologists in 1867 detailed individuals who lost their ability to recognize faces, setting the stage for later research. Surprisingly, prosopagnosia affects approximately up to 2.5% of the population. Despite this relatively low prevalence, it has significant impacts on daily life, including social interactions and personal relationships. People with prosopagnosia struggle to recognize familiar faces, including those of family members and close friends, or even their own. They often rely on other cues such as voices, clothing, or distinctive features to identify individuals. This condition can also lead to social anxiety and difficulties in professional settings. This condition can be both acquired or congenital. Acquired prosopagnosia usually results from brain damage due to trauma, stroke, or certain neurological diseases. In contrast, congenital prosopagnosia is present from birth and affects individuals without any obvious brain injury or damage. Prosopagnosia manifests uniquely in different individuals. One notable case is that of the famous neurologist Oliver Sacks, who had congenital prosopagnosia. Despite his professional success, Sacks often recounted personal challenges, such as not recognizing familiar people in everyday situations. Another compelling story involves a woman who, following a head injury, could no longer recognize her own face in the mirror. Current theories about prosopagnosia suggest a combination of genetic and neurological factors. Studies involving brain scans show that individuals with prosopagnosia have less activity in areas thought to be associated with the recognition of faces. Hope you've enjoyed part 54 of this ever-expanding Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg series. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. This really helps my channel grow and allows me to dedicate substantial time and effort to producing content. Also, don't forget to hit the share button if you know someone who might appreciate it. Make sure to check out the YouTube membership and Patreon. You can support my channel for as little as 99 cents a month. Shout out to my patrons Noah Schubert, Iced Mocha, Kurt the Squirt, Monoxide Wendigo, Jeffer Metcalf, Z-Volts, Director Delta, Unknown Delusions, Faye, Jack Russell, Boomslang, Spookiest Becky, Vespertine, Metanova, Will Roan, and Blasphemous. Big shout out to YouTube member Jordan All. Until next time, stay safe and healthy. Peace out, everyone.